Revisionism is the only thing that's ever given feminism any ground to stand on. And it's been so effective that you could take a woman right now and tell her that in the past, they would have ripped her nails out for disobeying her husband. And, she would just nod along and agree and believe you without even questioning it. And they would only be willing to accept something like that because their minds have been shaped that way since they were little girls. And that's why you get stuff like this story here floating around.
I think one of the worst things that the patriarchy has tricked us into believing is that men are the biggest victims of not being able to share their emotions or cry. Because what do you mean? What happens if a man shares his emotions or cries? He's ostracized by other men, maybe a little bit of women, people, don't invite him to the hockey game. Women literally used to get parts of their brain cut out for having any emotion at all, good or bad. People that are not allowed to share their emotions under patriarchy are women, not men.
Women at this point are treating patriarchy like it's a shape-shifting boogeyman, that they can use to explain whatever feeling they have in the moment. It is incoherent, everything she said. But she's acting like patriarchy is the thing, telling everyone that men are victims of emotional suppression. That idea does not come from patriarchy at all. It actually comes from people who oppose it, right? So that doesn't make any sense. And also, the fact that she thinks women have been emotionally stunted in any way, it really shows how deep her delusion is. Women have been emotionally facilitated, pandered to, pedestalized, and really, propped up. And if a woman can't see that at this point, I fear she never will. Really. And so she talks like women are also innocent when dealing with men in terms of their emotions. When in reality, right, being hyper emotional around women, that's not going to bring good results. Now, she may not realize it, but it's not men who punish men the most for emotional instability. I mean, I guess it depends on the context, but in general, it's going to be women, right? Because they look for men with stability. So when a man breaks that frame, they recoil, right? And I do think a lot of guys are okay with carrying that responsibility, but shit, it would be nice to get some appreciation instead of being constantly ridiculed and talked down to, right? That's the real problem. We've reached a point where so many women openly disrespect and they resent men, even after everything men do to keep things running. And it all comes from that revisionism that I mentioned earlier. It's taken over their minds to the point to where, they genuinely believe they've been living in some kind of oppressive nightmare. And that's what leads us to claims like hers. This crazy idea that women were punished for emotions by having parts of their brain removed. I mean, is this what we're doing now? Trying to act like, I guess, lobotomies were a female-targeted punishment? And the whole purpose was to keep women from being emotional? Because that's what it sounds like she's doing. And the men who got lobotomies, where does that fit? This procedure was not created to control women or punish them for emotion. It's taking a piece of history and turning it into a oppression story, right? And that mindset is the real issue, because the dogma comes first, and then the details can be invented around it. Can you imagine the life experience that we as men could be having in the year 2025 if it were not for feminism? Imagine the appreciation we could have, the respect, pleasant girlfriends and wives, so many other things. I mean, it really is wild to think about how different things would feel if men were not constantly painted as the villains of society or the group that needs to apologize for existing.
I am so happy, day after Thanksgiving, because I don't have a husband anymore. I feel bad saying it, but this is so peaceful. I have music on and a candle. I'm going to have soup for lunch, and it's simple, and I don't have to cook for anyone else. And I'm in my robe, and I'm cozy, and I'm getting things done, like bills and papers and emails, but I'm still in my robe, and no one's saying, don't you think you should get dressed? Don't you think you should do this? Don't you think you should do that? No, I don't. And I'm having a lovely day all by my peaceful self. Happy day after Thanksgiving.
I think there's something to this idea that if you're really happy, you don't feel the need to keep telling everybody you're happy. I think what's going on here is a lot of these women, they simply feed off of the comment section. And with these types of videos, whether it's, I'm divorced or I'm a childless woman, it's always focused on how great it is to be lazy. Stay in your pajamas, sleep in, do nothing, have no responsibility. But in my experience, people who live like that are usually depressed. Like if you're sleeping in all the time, not changing out of your pajamas, staying in a robe all day, they want to paint that as leisure and luxury. But to me, that sounds like someone who is struggling mentally. And maybe for a couple days, it's fine. But if you continue to do that, personally, after the first day of doing that, I'm not going to feel great. So when someone kind of starts a video all excited saying, yeah, I'm so happy, but then everything they describe, it kind of sounds like low effort living, it just doesn't match. Like, I'm not enough of a fool that someone can convince me the less disciplined and less structured their life is, the happier they are. That has not been the case for me, at least. And I don't think it is for anybody. You need discipline. You need structure. And living on easy mode is not going to be good for your mind. If I had to take a guess, it seems like she's kind of trying to refill her tank of validation, right? Post a TikTok and then get a bunch of supportive comments and then feel better about the choices you might be unsure of, and then repeat it the next day when the validation starts to dry up. It actually kind of reminds me of how people actually, how they use social media just to show that they're doing something instead of actually enjoying it. So some people will go to the gym just to take the picture, not to work out. Or some people will go out just so they can post it and make it look like they're having a wonderful night out on the town and it's amazing, when really it's pretty lame and, anticlimactic, and it's actually not much fun, kind of depressing. So basically it's living for social media. And then once that phone gets put down, I don't think the excitement is going to be coming from, sitting around making soups or paying bills in a robe. I think the true excitement she's getting is telling people she's doing it, living this feminist lifestyle, and then getting that hit of approval in the comments section, getting the dopamine, the validation from all the other feminists. Like she's getting more out of the reaction than the actual lifestyle.
Is wanting to go to a nice restaurant really too much to ask for a first date? Like, some men really get so offended when I say my ideal first date is a nice restaurant. And they're like, a restaurant? That's crazy. That's crazy. You would take a girl to a restaurant on a first date. How is going to dinner crazy? Like, are you genuinely just too broke to pay for it? Or you actually think that you shouldn't treat a girl that you're interested in to a nice dinner on a first date? What's not clicking, Steven?
What this really boils down to, is this a requirement? Because if it is, that is not going to work. If a woman's really into you, she's not going to make you jump through hoops. And I think even a woman saying this is her ideal first date, it's not the end of the world, but it kind of seems like she's taking herself a little too seriously. She probably wants to get all dolled up. She wants to be put on a pedestal, free food, free dinner, a nice, expensive restaurant for the first date. Just kind of sounds high maintenance, honestly. And, this is true, I guess, with all dating in 2025, but there's some potential humiliation that comes with whining and dining a woman and 2025. Like, you don't know if she's seeing other guys, and yet you're blowing all this money on her. I mean, hell, you could be out on a date with her, go to the restroom, and while you're away, taking a leak, she's texting some other guy, planning her next date. And that's something that was not possible, before smartphones, really. And it's like, you really want a woman to come into your frame right away. Because, I really believe in a woman having genuine desire and then being willing to follow a man's lead, his proposition. And a lot of this is a woman trying to dictate early on, trying to lead. Like, if she rejects, yes, your initial proposition, and she says, actually, I only do dinner dates. She's telling you, I'm not willing to follow. I'm not really willing to do what you say. But the irony is, right, she would probably be the same type to request male leadership in a relationship. Right? You understand that. The contradiction, it's really quite funny, and we see it time and time again. And I have seen a couple times from comments from some older guys, and they say, yeah, that might be true for you younger dudes, but for us, it's different. For us older guys, it's different. Well, I think you may believe that because women have said that to you. I don't think so. Like, if she's got genuine desire for you, if she's willing to step into your world and you suggest something like a drink, she's got to be willing to do that. She's not going to say, actually, I require dinner. And if she says that, right, and she rejects your proposition, you know that you're already dealing with a woman who's going to be a headache, who doesn't want to follow or get in line with your frame. And again, you can pretty much guarantee she'll be the same type of woman who wants a man to lead. And yes, many such cases.